The hot stove is heating up, Mets fans. Nick Morabito's save, guys accepting, declining the qualifying offers are all over the place. Talking about Pete Alonso, Edwin Diaz, and could the New York Mets be in on a major, major piece? We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more next on Metcast. What's going on, Mets fans? Welcome back to another live off-season edition of Metcast. As always, I am Ray, joined by my co-host Dan Bartels of the New York Post, and the stove is starting to cook. Qualifying offers being accepted all over the place, Dan, declined all over the place. Shout out to the New York Yankees for signing never mind. Trade Christian for $22 million. Career 600 OPS, but we'll say that for another segment. Kyle Tucker's still out there, but I will say this. There's a lot of rumors floating out there, Dan. And first thing I want to get to that you and I could both comment on is what Sal Licata had to say over on WFAN, talking about his source and what his sources were telling him about the Pete Alonso contract. And it's really interesting. So let's give it a listen really quick.
Yep. Texting with an industry source who's got some insight here on, trust me, I know he knows the inner workings of the games and the contracts. It doesn't mean it's gospel, but he was just saying that it's unlikely that Pete comes back to the Mets. The rumors that you're hearing about the Mets not willing to bend are very true. And I find there's a lot of other stuff in there. He goes over some teams. The Angels are being looked at as one of the teams who could spend stupidly. Maybe Cincinnati, even Tampa could get involved for Pete's power. And then I was like, well, what do you think the Mets max is? And he said 2+1 around 30 per year. Now, if that's the case.
Whoa, 3 days ago, what did Metcast and Dan Bartels report? Dan had it first to 3 years the Mets offer for Pete Alonso on the table. Something to monitor going forward.
Again, it's not gospel. It doesn't work for the Mets, just an industry source. If that's the case, I don't think there's any chance the Mets retain Pete Alonso, because I firmly believe. Now, Naylor got 5 years, $90 million, which is it's actually embarrassing.
I don't mind it. I like Naylor a lot better.
But you guys get the gist of that. 3 years, 2+1, Dan. Something that we discussed this past offseason. I don't see David Stearns going to 5 years. I had Joe DeMayo on early on in the offseason. He said, I see the Mets offering 3, maybe going 4. That he doesn't see him going beyond that. And now we're kind of stuck in this crossroads again. The difference between last year and this year, excuse me, guys, I have a cough drop in. But the last year and this year is, last year was really the Mets and the Mets. This year you got the Angels. You have Tim Healy, former New York Mets reporter, reporting that the Red Sox are hot on the tail of Pete Alonso. They want to see what that power could do over in Fenway. It's not just the Mets this year. And look, it's going to have to happen quickly. You have all the other rumors out there that we will address in just a couple of minutes. But Dan, what are your initial thoughts on this report from Sal Licata, the 2+1?
Yeah, it makes sense. It was Friday night. We were kind of hearing that first about the Pete news, about the Diaz contracts, both of them being in. And then later you find out some of the numbers that come with it as well. It's nice to hear the terms of the years being similar with what Sal's hearing. Sal's tuned in. He's locked in. I don't know if the sources, again, are directly going to Sal, but I do think at the same time he works at SNY. He works around a lot of these people that aren't getting that information. So I trust what he's saying. It makes sense. There's going to be players for Pete. I think it's not going to be as many as we'd see with an Edwin Diaz market. But again, I think a lot of teams without the qualifying offer attached to Alonso, you're going to have teams like the Rays, right? You're going to have teams like the Reds saying, hey, Great American Ballpark really plays well for you as a right-handed power hitter. You should come and play here. The Yankees are not going to be in on Pete Alonso. I know a lot of people like to throw that out there, but Ben Rice has really earned that spot, and he had great production this year for the New York Yankees. So I don't think it's a matter of, potentially the Yankees being in. There's going to be teams. I mean, let's go out west. Let's be honest. I mean, I think the Mariners, look what they did, and they set a market for Pete with the 5 years. I disagree with you, Ray. And I do think Pete is going to get those 5 years because Naylor got it. Could be from the Rangers, right? That's another team that could be in on Pete. I do agree with you, though. The Red Sox are going to be that team, and it makes a lot of sense. So there's players. There's a lot of money to be thrown at them. I think the years are kind of established at this point. Naylor gets 5. I think Pete gets 5.
And another team to kind of watch out for, guys, I'm telling you, the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to stick their nose in there. Allegedly, reportedly, they offer Naylor $88 million. Their owners come out, said they're going to spend this offseason. We'll see what happens with the Marlins, because now that we have these new reports about the Marlins, which we'll get into in a few minutes.
The Nationals, too.
Yeah, maybe the Nationals, but I don't see them going to a rebuild, even though the Pittsburgh might be. And Pittsburgh might get involved in another player on the Mets, which we'll get to in a minute. But I expect them, because of the looming lockout and whether or not there's going to be a salary cap or floor, owners are clearly pushing for these smaller market teams to finally spend a little bit of money. I could see Pittsburgh clearly getting involved. Now, would Pete want to go there? Probably not. But being a Scott Boras client, what did it teach us last year? His guys are going to go for the top dollar, whether it's $1 more every single time. How many times, Dan, did we hear last offseason? Well, the Yankees are going to get the last bit to try to go forward, and he's not going to leave pinstripes. Once you wear pinstripes, you never go anywhere. And then over $5 million, he leaves to come to the New York Mets. Whether or not it's a couple more years here or there, at the end of the day, it was a dollar amount. Now, with Pete, here's where it gets interesting. I think his market's going to move, and it's going to move quick, because there's a lot of teams reliant on what's going to happen with him. If the Red Sox don't get him, they need to pivot. If the Angels don't get him, they need to pivot. Pittsburgh's willing to spend that money, they need to pivot. And I'm sure that maybe the Rangers, maybe another team, which I don't think the Rangers will be involved, because I know they have that little bit of issue with money in their ownership. But a lot of teams need to pivot. And another team that is going to wait for these dominoes to fall, and we'll touch on it now, because this guy gets me excited. He gets me pumped. He has David Stearns written across his forehead. But I'm making the call to San Diego, Dan. Fernando Tatis Jr. can be had. And I know he's got the big contract, but what is he? 27 years old, same as Juan Soto, elite player. Yes, he got busted for PEDs. I'm well aware. He's been tested 1 million times since, came up negative every single time. I want to have his stats here really quick, so that way we could kind of gauge it. Last year was
player, man.
Of years, Dan, but 268, 25 homers, 71 RBIs, 594 at bats. So you could add probably another 50 to 60 at bats on there. But the OPS is still well over 800. His OPS plus 125. And on top of that, I'm pretty sure this year, let me double check. Didn't he win a platinum glove this year? If I'm not mistaken.
I think he might have.
But I mean, the tools are all there. Put him right in the outfield.
It's a good player.
I'm all in. All in. Right bat. Say it again.
Gotta move Nimmo at that point.
Well, that's something we'll get to in a minute. But what are your thoughts on Tatis?
Yeah, he's a good player. I think he could add a lot to the Mets and what he can do on the field. It speaks for itself. I think he's a guy that I would be entertained by. I think any team would be. I just don't know with the PEDs and stuff. That doesn't sit right with me personally. But I don't know. I'd be open to it. It would be his numbers haven't been as
yeah,
good.
He won the Platinum Glove, best defender in National League.
Right. I just think the numbers too, they haven't really bounced back from his early years. He's still a great player, but I don't know if think we overrate him sometimes. But I'd be interested. And
we want to talk about run prevention, Dad. You add the best defender in the entire league. That's another thing you could add to that.
Yeah, I think run prevention really applies to Pete, applies to Vientos, and it applies to center field, whoever that's going to be. But I don't know. I get what you're saying. I think we'll see.
He is signed at, look at his contract, because San Diego's got to move this money. He's signed through his age 35 season, which is not bad. He's set to make this year coming up $20 million. So nothing crazy. 25, 25, then it jumps 36, 36, 36, all the way till he's 35 years old. To me, it's a no-brainer. Dan, why did the Dodgers win? Why does Milwaukee win? Why did the Yankees win? Hell, why did Toronto get there last year? Elite players stepping up in elite times. Look what Vlad Guerrero did. Look what Springer did. Look what the Yankees did. Hell, even the Red Sox, when they're battling the Yankees in the wild card, Bregman steps up of all guys. Like, this is an opportunity where you say our outfield is set for the next, I don't know, decade, potentially. And it's not like Tatis is a negative defender. He's the best defender in the world, at least in the National League. And it ain't even close to Platinum Glove. And I know you can go in another direction. My thing is this. His contract is reasonable at $20 million, 25, 30, 30, 30, 30, then to 35. It's not going to overblow you. It's going to sell jerseys. And for me, adding him, that doesn't mean I'm getting rid of Pete. I want to put that out there for everybody. We talk about shaking up this core. You could send them back. I hate to say it because I had the guy on my podcast, but a Jet Williams, young and under control. I don't think it would cost you Carson. I think he's still your center fielder because you're taking on that contract. That's a big part of it. You give up a Jet Williams and maybe you give up a Nick Morabito, who, good thing he got protected today. A hell of a prospect. The Mets DFA'd Frankie Montas, something we'll get to allow him to be on the 40-man. But think about this, Dan. They had to DFA Montas to get Nick Morabito, who would probably be a top 10 prospect in 80% of the entire league, top 10 in their system. That's how deep this system is. Time to let it work. You solidify that outfield and you throw everything you have at pitching. And then we can get to the next point. And I know it's your boy. Give me your thoughts on potentially moving Brandon Nimmo, and I'll give the counter argument because I know he's your boy. But before we do that, I believe I seen something come across the screen. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just putting Zach's message up there. What's up, Zach?
Sure, go ahead.
Always checking in. With Nimmo, right, I just don't think trading him makes sense. I think if we're going to eat contracts and talk about that stuff with a guy like Fernando Tatis, I would do it on the pitching side with Jacob deGrom, but that's just me. If we want to have those conversations, we can. I just think right field shouldn't be an area of target right now. I get with Nimmo, it adds to the equation. He can't play defense. He's over the hill. He's 32 years old, and he has a lot of game left, and he plays every day. I mean, he's not as durable as Pete. He's not as durable as Lindor. He's not as durable as Soto, but he's pretty damn durable. And for the amount of injury talk that we hear about at Brandon Nimmo, he goes out and posts. He was projected to hit 30 home runs this year. He was sitting at 19 for a very long time. He's a very good player, and he plays left field pretty well. He's not great at the position. I get having the conversation about trading him because $102 million, it's a lot. It's a lot on the books, but I think he's getting paid pretty well, relative to his market right now. So I don't know. I think we look at, other players across the league. Is he a Teoscar Hernandez? I mean, he's pretty similar. And I think the money is, again, pretty similar over those deals. Is 5 years for Brandon Nimmo at this point a long time left on his contract? I mean, he could DH. So I don't know.
Well, that's where I was going to present it to you. Getting Tatis, for me, it would probably mean moving Nimmo, but I don't think it's a lock. I mean, I still think Nimmo could play a part-time center field, part-time. Maybe you give Tatis or Soto a blow here or there, and he's a mega fourth outfielder / DH when he's not playing in the outfield. Keep him off his feet a little bit. Preserve that career going forward. But I'm just imagining a lineup right now where you could see Lindor, Soto, Tatis, the real protection that we've been yelling for Soto. Teams didn't fear Alonso last year. It just is what it is. They're going to walk him. But are you going to walk him with Tatis, Alonso, and Nimmo? Dare I say the best 1 through 5 in the major leagues if you're talking about that? Could you get a bounce back from Vientos? Is Beatty going to take the next step? You need one guy to step up. And Tatis ain't going to cost you a ton. That's just where I'm getting at. But I agree with you with Nimmo. He still has value. The 260s, 25 home runs, it's a guaranteed lock. Would I like him to walk a little more? Yeah. The foot scares me. And if you're going to trade him, Dan, you're going to have to eat a lot of that contract. maybe 20 to 30 million of it, which scares me.
Scares me too. It scares me too, Ray. I don't want to do it. I don't think it makes sense. But when Jeff Passan floats a name out there like Brandon Nimmo, I mean, that was a name we heard. Joel Sherman says it. I feel like nobody really listened at that point. You better listen now. I mean, these people are ahead of this stuff for a reason. Like, there was talks of Brandon Nimmo being traded. Would the Mets ever do it? That's a whole different conversation. I mean, it's just a whole nother can of worms that I don't know if we're willing to talk about. I mean, it all comes back to Pete. If Pete's here, a lot of the stuff is going to be similar. I think Nimmo's back. The only one who could potentially not be here is Jeff McNeil. Acuna was on that list of potential trade targets right now. So Brett Beatty mentioned as well. I don't know, man. I think a lot of this is just wait on Pete, see what happens with him. But don't let it dictate your market. Don't let it hold you up this whole offseason like it did last year. If you got to go out and sign a guy, you go and do it. But the problem is Naylor's off the board. So the replacements just aren't there. Akamoto, you could sell me on, but I like Imai, the pitcher out of Japan. I think he's really good. I think he fits well on the East Coast.
So let's get to that. Let's get to the pitching. You have Imai, you have a couple other guys out there, and also the debate around Kodai Sanga, whether or not, you have this out today. I believe it was from Jeff Passan. See if I can pull it up. I had a quote here from him. Just hold on one second. Here we go. Yeah. Here's a quote from Jeff Passan's article. Quote, Kodai Sanga, right-handed pitcher, New York Mets. He is extremely available and multiple executives expect him to be traded this winter as the Mets look to overhaul their rotation. When I hear overhaul, Dan, that means you're bringing in some major pieces. That's what that tells me. Do I think we're getting Skubal? I'll tell you straight out. No. Right. You're not giving up Noah McLean, and that's what it's going to take. Because somebody else is going to give their top 5. And I'm not doing it. I'm simply not. But could a Peralta be out there? Yeah, I could see something like that. But Kodai Sanga, and I'll make this argument, and let me know your perspective. And guys, let me know in the chat your perspective. And by the way, like this video if you're watching. I always forget to say that. With Kodai Sanga, he has 2 years, $15 million per season left on his contract. Pitched like an all-star at the beginning of the year, 1.55 ERA through June, and then he had the injury, was never the same. Kind of made a paper. We all see it. But for me, the upside for a $15 million a year pitcher is just way too high with Kodai Sanga to give him away for, say, a bullpen arm, which I think that's kind of what you're looking at. I don't think you're looking at getting prospects back for a guy like him. And with a team like the New York Mets last year, Tyler McGill, Griffin Canning, Kodai Sanga, Manaya, you can go up and down this roster outside of Peterson and Clay Holmes. We're all injured. We're all injured. You're going to trade a guy who's a depth piece. I say you go into next year expecting him to be a 4th or 5th starter and get some legit pitchers in here. Use him as depth. Tell him you got to earn your spot in this rotation. And if it doesn't work out, you get rid of him. But the upside is him being an ace. We saw it at the beginning of the last year. If he didn't do what he did in the beginning of last year for us, this year's looking even worse. So I keep Kodai Sanga at $15 million. That's just my opinion. What do you think? Oh, Dan froze. Did everybody freeze? Do you guys give me a thumbs up in the chat?
It's a little glitchy, but can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Sorry, yeah, it lagged a little bit there.
No, yeah, it's all
with
good.
Sanga, right? So with Sanga, again, I want to keep him if he could be a 5 or a 6 in my rotation, maybe a 4. Those days of him being an ace are far gone. I do think, though, when you're the Mets, and I was saying this to you before, Ray, when you go and sell him to another team, you look at the positives, right? You look at his first half. You look at the 1.49 ERA through 12 starts that it was this year. You look at his rookie season. You look at his dastardly pitch, the ghost fork. That was the most whiffed at pitch in baseball for a full major league season. That is a decent sample size to show to a team. I still think there's value in Sanga. I think you can get a lot in return for Sanga. I think when you look at teams potentially like the Blue Jays, there's a potential offer here. Braden Fisher and Jose Barrios for Kodai Sanga. I think that could be something, just throwing names into the wind. What do I know here on Metcast? But those could be some names where you could get a decent return for Kodai. I think that's universal across the board with a lot of these players. So just something to think about. I think trading for guys is going to be a lot, but dumping salary, that's always a different conversation. So we'll see. We'll see, Ray. But I'm all in on keeping Senga. I think they're going to keep Manaea. I think they're going to keep Peterson. Maybe you trade Peterson after the beginning of the year. He is in a walk year, but you have your pitchers. I think they'll add maybe one or two. It's not going to be a big off season where the Mets are getting Skubal and Sandy and Cease, and we got to calm down on those narratives. But
yeah, I agree. We can touch on that briefly.
Yeah.
Supposedly Cabrera and Alcantara are still available for the Mets. I just think that it's going to be too high of a division tax. And that's the issue with not developing our own pitching, guys. It is expensive to get a guy like that. They're going to say, sure, we'll trade with you. We want Pung and Sproat. And that seems to be every Mets fan favorite two guys to throw in a trade. David Stearns does not develop pitching to throw it away. He just doesn't. So it's not happening. I just don't. That's why I look. Maybe you go after a Peralta. It might not cost you all of those guys, maybe one of those guys. And then you go after the free agent market, what we were talking about. I keep going back to the Mets called San Diego last year to ask about Dylan Cease. Something to monitor. That's why I brought up last week. You had the report out there from the Athletic over in with the Twins, the Guardians, or the Twins, excuse me, talking about the availability of Byron Buxton and him having the ability to waive his no trade, and him informing the team that for a contender, he would consider waiving his trade. Another player that we know the Mets checked in on at the deadline. The New York Post on August 5th had an article saying the Mets swung big on Buxton, but he was unwilling to waive his no trade clause. So before going after Mullins, he was the guy the Mets, and look, imagine we didn't make the playoffs and we gave up Carson Bench, Jet Williams, Brandon Sproat, and a whole load to get that guy. What a catastrophe that would be. But another player, 3 years, $15 million a year going into his age 32 season. So you're not totally worried. Yeah, the injury history scares you, but the money clearly wouldn't scare you. Maybe that's a team maybe Brandon Nimmo would explore potentially going to. I don't know. I know I want him back, but I'm not saying, I don't answer the phone there. Another thing we could touch on today, Dan, talked about Edwin Diaz declining the qualifying offer, something we all expected, but that might hurt his market. It might simply hurt his market. That's what, I don't know what you think about that. The qualifying offer hurt Pete last year. Somebody going to be willing to give up a high-end pick to go and, sign Edwin Diaz.
I think it affects Edwin just as much as it affected Pete. Anytime a team has to give up a pick to get a guy because of the QO, that stinks. It's going to hurt the player's value, and it is going to be in Edwin's case. That's why when you're hearing 4 for 88 out of the gate, I mean, that's a pretty good offer for Diaz. And then you see him at Citi Field 2 days later. That's a little bit trending in the right direction where his market's pretty stable. It's not going to be 150 million for Edwin Diaz. It's probably going to be around the 88 to 100 range. And they very well could be at the point where they met Diaz where he wants to be met, and he could be a Met. I don't know. So these things happen. But with Skubal, right, it's interesting. I mean, we've talked about it so much. I don't think the Tigers are going to trade Skubal. I don't think even the Brewers are going to trade Freddie Peralta. These are things that I don't see happening, and these are just little rumblings you hear, out of the GM meetings. Now we have the owners' meetings we're in now. I don't think these teams are going to be willing to deal their aces. Why would they, to the Mets of all teams? I think it is a lot of orange and blue glasses when we talk about the Mets. It's not going to happen. I don't think we get Freddie Peralta, as much as I love saying it. I don't think the Twins trade us Joe Ryan. I don't think that's a reality. Sandy's not going to be traded in the division to the Mets unless we blow them away. And if you're the Tigers, right, the Tigers are a really good team. Tigers are one of the best teams in baseball. Why would they trade Skubal? It's just see how the season goes. If
Jim Bowden thinks it's a lock.
I think people are crazy, man. I think the Tigers keep Skubal. I'll be on the record in saying that. At least in going into next year, they should have every right to think that they can compete. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. And you got to try to go for it at that point. Now, let's go to another player that the Mets have been in contact with. It was reported today talking about Devin Williams, a former Yankee, Dan, and I would be all over this. Look, I understand he had a terrible year last year, 4.79 ERA. It really goes around 5 or 6 appearances. He was lights out pretty much the rest of the year. But I will say this. You can't throw out the guy's entire career. 2024, 1.25, 23, 1.53, 22, 1.93. The guy had an ERA in the ones the last 3 consecutive years. And look, I don't want him to be my closer, but could he be setting up Edwin Diaz? I think that is an absolute must get for the New York Mets if he's available and willing to do that. Now, we don't know if he'll be willing to do that. A lot of guys like Chapman, remember, a couple years ago, the Mets offered Chapman more money than Pittsburgh did, but he took the less money for Pittsburgh to close for them. Some guys are like that. Remember, Williams was forced to be the setup guy for the Yankees because he was traded there. Remember, he had the issue with the facial hair. I'm not totally sure, but I'm sure money talks. And if the Mets are willing to fork over the money, I think you could get a Dylan Betances Miller type situation over in Queens next year with Miller and Devin Williams and Diaz.
Yeah, you could. Again, I think he's willing, Ray, because again, you mentioned it. He did it last year, and he would have done it with Bednar again. Like, I think Williams, when you were hearing him with the Yankees, some chatter there was, hey, like, this guy isn't a big market guy. He doesn't seem to be, fully invested in what the Yankees are doing. But then in the same breath, those people would say, I think I could see him as a Dodger. So I don't know. The Dodgers could be in on him. I think they can up their value with that. I would love Devin Williams on the New York Mets. I think it makes sense as a setup guy to Diaz. I think he should be willing to do it, Ray, because he lost his job, essentially. He was basically going to be out of the bullpen together. This guy was really bad this year at points for the Yankees, and Aaron Boone just kept sending him out there, and it was the classic fans against Boone. Why do you keep putting this guy in bad situations? Well, I think Williams would be a great addition for the Mets. We'll see. I think there's better arms. I mean, Robert Suarez would be the arm that if we lose Diaz, God forbid, we really have to go into panic mode and try to go after Williams and Suarez. But bring back Diaz, and then if you could have Williams as the setup guy, you have A.J. Minter in the pen already. You have Adbert Alzolay, who could be a really good piece. You have some pieces already. Brazelbon should be a factor. So we'll see.
Yeah, and you know what that's like? You look at this team right now, Dan. The entire team needs to be reconstructed in the bullpen. This bullpen, a lot of Met fans fail to realize how there's nobody available in the bullpen. Oh, what's going on here?
I don't know. Things bug. I don't know what's happening.
There we go. Yeah, that other side's for Instagram. That's the
you go.
That's what they're seeing over there.
Right.
But that's what we're talking about. When you look at this team between Minter coming back, Diaz is not back yet. Williams is not back yet. You look at the money coming off the books. There's a lot of things that need to change. I noticed somebody said over here, Madeline goes, why was Frankie ever signed? Look, former Brewer, Stearns connection, maybe. I don't know. It was a terrible. Well, let me ask you this. Jed Lowry, Frankie Montas, who was worse in your opinion?
I'd have to go Frankie Montas. I don't know. Jed Lowry was pretty bad, though. At least Montas played 7 games. He started for the Mets. I think he had 9 appearances in total. Like, Lowry was just a complete stiff. So I'd actually give the edge to Lowry there. I'll rescind that.
Well, you know what's funny? I was having a debate a little bit over on X today because people are like, oh, Jed Lowry steps in the building. Don't forget, Jed Lowry was, because it's the Wilpons and they refuse to spend on anybody, Jed Lowry was 2 years and $20 million. Montas almost got double that contract.
Yeah. Different time too, I think. I think
it was a different time. It was only 2019.
Yeah, no, I know.
Not that long ago.
Different spending habits. Let's just say that. Keep it safe. But I get
what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. Let's address one thing. Pete Alonso, and then we'll get to some of your guys' comments as we go throughout this.
In Hall of Fame.
Does the Josh Naylor 5 for 90, does that impact the Pete Alonso market?
Yes, it does. And it does simply in terms of the years, right? It doesn't in terms of the money. He got $92.5 million. I believe that's $18.5 million over the 5 years for Josh.
They're only paying him like $10 million next year. It's an escalator.
Right. So that's what you're looking at with him. He got 150,000 too. I love when Heyman posts the contracts if he wins MVP. Some people laughing that up like Josh Naylor would win MVP, but you never know. But yeah, it's interesting. I think in terms of the years, Pete has basically secured a 5-year deal. Friday night was very good for Pete, or whenever Naylor signed. It might have been Sunday night, I forget. But Naylor is a guy who not really comparable to Pete in terms of the age, in terms of what he does. He gave you a 295 average this year. I mean, Pete gave you 272, which is good for him. But the 5-year deal, yeah, Pete's probably getting that now on an open market.
What about, because I keep thinking, I know a lot of people keep talking about how Pete Alonso's market will be affected by Josh Naylor. And I keep thinking in my head, but Naylor's 28 and Pete's 31. It's a big age. Naylor's going to be a year older than Pete when that contract is up, and Pete will be at that point 35, 36 years old. That's how I look at that. But really quickly, let's get to this. Zach, thanks so much, my guy. You don't have to do that. You know that. Gonna get to your questions anyways. But Zach chimes in. I love Tatis, great defender and provides protection 1,000%. Because I'll tell you this. This is how I always do it. I try to put myself in the other team's shoe. I have first and second, 1 out. Juan Soto comes to the plate. I already know because team showed us last year. I'm walking him 4 pitches. I want to see Alonso. If it's Tatis, I'm not sold. That's what they're doing. Are you using an automatic 4? It's not. Because whether we like to say it or not, this is where I agree with you, Zach. Whether we like to say it or not, name means everything. Not saying Pete's not clutch. We know what Pete could do in the clutch. But he's like, there's that tier in baseball that's up here, and you have the bad tier down here. Here's the tier, top tier. Pete's right here, where he doesn't get the respect yet. And then, dare I say, a guy on third base, Lindor hits an opening double. You have Soto. You can't just pitch around Soto now like they did to get to Pete. Because so what if we pitch around Pete? You have Jeff McNeil behind him, who can't hit the ball out of the infield. I said it. How many times are we going to say this, Dan? I'm watching. We cover, for anybody who's new to this, appreciate you being here. Head on over to YouTube, like, subscribe. If you want to get your comments read, we're reading strictly from YouTube tonight, like most nights. But I watch Jeff McNeil when we were covering them down at spring training. Pop fly after pop fly after pop fly. And I'm watching him do this new thing where has his hands coming in and he's trying to come down on the ball to elevate it for a guy that's not a power hitter. And he hit a couple out. So everyone got enamored by it. But we all know what he is. He's not legitimate protection. So extend this lineup. I would feel much more comfortable if Brandon Nimmo was my consistent 5-hitter. Dan, just imagine Soto, Lindor, Soto, Tatis, Alonso in the 4-hole where he belongs. He's not a 3-hitter. Had a great year last year. Can't take that away from him. But we can't just magically forget that he hit 200 the year before. But Alonso in the 4-hole is the natural big bopper. Oh, sure. You want to put Soto on? You want to put Tatis on? I got Alonso and Nimmo coming up. 2 guys that could drive in runs. Maybe not as great as the other 2, but pretty damn close. And Alonso and Nimmo, both because Nimmo's a 25 home run guy. Alonso's a 35 home run guy. Could easily put up 3. For me, it's about putting fear. When you watch that Dodgers lineup and you see Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, you go, crap, there's no holes there. I can't pitch around Ohtani at the top of the order because the guy behind him can mash it out. I can't walk Betts or pitch around him because Freeman could do damage. That's what it's about. It's having a big mega 3. And I hate to say this, but we call a spade here, and it's one thing I will always do. I will never toe the company line. Lindor is not what he used to be. Still a hell of a player, but he does this way too much. Lindor was red hot like we've never seen before coming out of the gates last year. And don't forget, he had a 60-game stretch where he hit like 080. Don't forget that. He had a 2-week. What do you have? He had 1 hit in 22 games. It was something crazy like that. He does that way too much. So in my opinion, if the Mets could find a way to get Tatis here, hold Nimmo here, because then he could be the perfect 4th outfielder DH in that role. Get me a damn leadoff hitter. Get me a guy that can hit in front of Lindor, so Lindor doesn't constantly come up like he did last year with 1 out, no one on. 2 outs, no one on. It was literally a song and dance all season long. Ronnie Mauricio's not the guy to do it. Acuna's not the guy to do it. And until proven otherwise, Benj and Williams need to prove it at the major league level before I'm sold at the bottom of this lineup. This team lacks significant depth. That's why McNeil's gone. That's why they're still contemplating upgrading third base instead of Brett Beatty, which I would leave him there. But if you're telling me you can get an Alex Bregman, put Beatty at second base, let him learn the position at a full time in the offseason, and I'm totally comfortable with that. But the Mets need to get this bottom of the order BS out of here, the crap they tried to feed us last year. Dan, how much of a rotation do we see down there? You have Luis Torrens hitting in the 6th hole. That can not happen in 2026 simply. And that starts with getting a mega bat here and then addressing this pitching.
Yeah, and the Mets need a leadoff hitter. There is no doubt. That's very well said.
Thanks again, Zach. Go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you, Zach. I think, again, like when you look at this team, a player that we mentioned briefly, Nick Morabito, he gets protected from the Rule 5 draft coming up. I think that's pretty big news in Mets land. Kevin Parada goes unprotected. There's some interesting guys who were left unprotected around baseball, like a Blaze Jordan that comes to mind. But I don't think the Mets can be in on that. When it comes to Nick Morabito, he could be that leadoff hitter. He has speed. He could play the outfield. Not saying Carson Bench can't. Jet Williams obviously can. I mean, he's a walking 400 on-base percentage. The guy's unbelievable. So Jet Williams could definitely be the leadoff guy. Acuna sadly never lived up to it. I'm still having hope, but he was one of the 6 names that Passan mentioned that could be traded. So stay on the lookout for that. As much as we love Acuna and believe in Acuna, he might not be on the team next year. So they didn't mention Mauricio. I don't think Mauricio could be a leadoff hitter until he learns how to hit right-handed. But for him, I think the sky's the limit. I think they want to keep Mauricio and have him as the third base option if all else fails. But it's going to be tough to see if you can trust Mauricio out of the gate. That's why him playing winter ball right now is huge. Them watching that, seeing how that goes, and then keep it rolling into spring training. That's always the goal. So there were some interesting names like Brett Beatty. I agree. If you can get a Bregman, go do it. Murakami doesn't seem like he can play third base. Alec Boehm, I wouldn't trade for. Max Muncy, I wouldn't go exploring. There's really not many third basemen at this point that I would feel comfortable with, which stinks. But Elian Pena coming up someday, right? Jacob Reimer coming up someday, right? So you just need somebody to fill that gap, and it could be Mauricio. It really could be. So we'll see. But Zach, thanks again. Tatis would be the guy to put in this lineup, no doubt. I think Schwarber too, but I just don't see Schwarber being a thing for the Mets. So,
Absolutely. Guys, really quickly, we're going to get to a couple of your guys' comments before we sign off for the night. Make sure we get back and forth. Always love doing that with you. Do me a favor, smash the like button. Consider subscribing to the podcast. And if you want to be guaranteed to get your comments read live on air with us or with our guests, which we have lined up, you guys check out. I did an exclusive interview with Brandon Tierney last week. Also, Jet Williams the week before. So after this video, go down to our videos. And if you want to see how the Mets are using their analytics with their players, that interview with Jet gave tremendous insight, which I was kind of blown away by that. But check a look at that. And again, if you want to be guaranteed to get your comments read, as you guys all know, become a member. And with that said, let's start off with a couple of our members. Brad, what's going on? The hot stove is cooking. Absolutely. But I want to see some stuff getting done, my man. Dan, how you think this is going to drag out like it did last year? We didn't really hear anything until after, the winter meetings in early December last year. You think it's going to happen again?
I think it continues to drag out. This is a problem. I tweeted out something last week, like the MLB offseason is just way too slow. And then 2 hours later, Naylor signs. So things can happen. I just don't think it's happening quick, and it's never going to happen quick. This isn't the NBA. This isn't the NFL.
I was going to say, it's not July 1st where everyone's going in 5 minutes.
There should be a deadline, though, and I want that to be very clear. Whether it's January 1st, December 15th, January 15th, there needs to be a firm stop that says no more signings until next year. There has to be.
Absolutely. We'll get to a couple more comments here. Eric says, you listen to that guy. Sal, I'm not saying I listen to him, but I respect the guy. Guy's worked hard to get where he's at. I know their show personally. I've had Brandon on. The reason why I brought that clip up in the beginning, they're connected. If you think they're not, I don't know what to tell you. The guy works for SNY, covers the Mets. I know he's connected. He's not going to stake his reputation on something like that. That'd be dumb. Klub says Big Meat Pete will be gone, and unfortunately, I agree. I think Stearns is running the show, and the only way, Dan, that he's a guaranteed to return is if Cohen gets involved.
We'll see, man. I think Pete will be back. I think there's a lot of value for him. We'll see. I think, again, he's getting a 5-year deal, I would think, based on what we're hearing from Naylor, but can't be too sure. Does he accept a 3-year, $90 million deal with the Mets? I don't know, and I don't think so. But he's going to need other teams to boost up his market. Otherwise, I don't know what's going to happen to Pete. Is he going to have to settle for a 1-year deal, pillow contract, Scott Boras style? I don't know, man. I don't think so. So we'll see.
Get to a few more. Gamer for War says his non-PED stats are the only ones that matter. I get it. Cano, Starlin, Marte were superstars and with the juice and crap without. Well, because you said that, let's check out his stats without. After PED, the year after, 635 at-bats, 25 home runs, 78 RBIs, 770 OPS. The following year, shortened year, 21 homers and 438 at-bats, which is probably right around 27-ish. 11 stolen bases. Remember that first year he came back, 29 stolen bases, 833 OPS, and then last year, after PEDs, almost a 6 WAR, Dan. Think about it, almost a 6 WAR, 32 stolen bases, 25 homers, 71 RBIs. You look at the guy, still great. Maybe not the 42 guy, but every year, mid to upper 20s home run projected with the injury stuff, 800 OPS with 30 stolen bases. That's what he is. Oh, and we can't just forget what David Stearns talked about. Winning a platinum glove. You're talking about Matt Chapman, Nolan Arenado, that kind of defender. There's one platinum glove given out every year. One to the greatest defender, and he got it. That should tell you something right there. So it's not just about Cano. Cano is crap without PEDs. But Tatis has proven he's not. And Tatis is 26 years old. I'm all over that. I just am. And you want to see those RBIs go up? Put a guy like Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto in front of him. A guy in Juan Soto is going to be on base 400% of the time. And you stick Pete Alonso behind him.
Yep.
And I think New York, he'd be a star here. An absolute star. Maybe you guys think different. Totally respect it. See what else we got going on here. Ferrari, just get King, Suarez, Gallen. Let's go to work. I saw Zach Gallen decline that QO. I don't think anyone's touching him. I know Dan likes Gallen. 4.5 ERA. You're going to have to give up what? Your first round pick for this guy? No, not happening. Not in David Stearns' world. Tell you that.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of these options are drying up, and it's unfortunate. It's frustrating. It doesn't make sense. I don't know what the trade market's going to be, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a lot, which stinks. So you're going to have to pick your lanes if you're a Mets fan. Really be committed to your offseason plan. I don't think it's going to be 3 pitchers. I would love that, but I think it's 2 at the most, Ray. And honestly, we as Mets fans living through the Wilpon years and have low expectations, we're probably only getting 1. It'll probably be again like a.
What sucks, Dan? This year, if Max Fried was a free agent this year, he would be a New York Met. The issue is there's no Max Fried,
right?
And David Stearns is not the guy to trade Noah McClain, Brandon Sproat, Jonah Tong, Carson Bench, and Jet Williams to get 1 year of Scooble so you can go test free agency and you're bidding with the Dodgers next year. It's just not happening.
Yep.
He's not going to do a Tyler Glass now. I will say this. William just made a comment. That'd be the dream offseason for me. William, stop flirting with me.
Buxton
And Tatis make a lot of sense because they can hit leadoff, which I think is the biggest need. Hit Lindor behind Soto. I've been saying it. Buxton wants out. He's made it clear.
Buxton, Soto, Lindor, Pete, Nimmo, Vientos. That's pretty good, man.
I would leave it Buxton, Soto, Lindor,
Pete.
Tatis.
Oh, Tatis, right.
I think Pete's gone under that scenario.
Talk about that. Yeah. Well,
Nimmo's still on the team, though.
Right.
That's how I look at that. We'll get to a few more.
I've
Zach chiming in. Say it again.
I have something real quick at the end, too.
Okay. Zach chiming in. Murakami makes Mark Vientos look like a platinum glover. I see a lot of people asking about Murakami. Murakami is not known for his defense at third base, more of a first baseman. But I will say this. I would not touch this guy with a 10-foot pole. And I could be dead wrong. Don't Mike Francesa me, folks, in the comments. Shout out to everybody who's in here right now. I know it's coming. But I will say this. Go look at his OPS at 93 and above. It's like 100. Like 100. You thought Acuna couldn't hit. This guy's got he's like 1 for 50 on pitches over 93 miles an hour. And you know what? You can get away with that in Japan because Japan's a lot of breaking balls, splitter curve. That's great. Not a lot of hard throwers. I mean, when they send a guy over here throws 100, everybody's like, oh my gosh. Think of everybody who comes out of the pen now throws 100. I could see this guy getting his breakfast handed to him, Dan. Maybe you think different.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I'm very skeptical of the Japanese pitchers now because of Yamamoto. I mean, how I know the Mets gave him $300 million. They did what they should have done in the moment. I don't want to see that happen to another one of these pitchers in Imai or any of them. But he hasn't thrown a pitch on American soil. Therefore, we can't trust him. I mean,
also, there's a different hype. They were saying that Yamamoto was like Cy Young coming over. Like they haven't seen it in forever.
Right.
I'm not getting that from Ima.
A lot of these guys win the Cy Young Award over there back here. Like it makes sense. I mean, some of these guys, they're good, but I throw that excuse out the window now. I'm in on any of these Japanese guys if I can get myself on, one or two of them, but we'll see.
All right, let's get to one more comment here. We'll go back to Zach. Zach, thanks again. What do you think of this? The deadline is on January 1st, 5 p.m. And if you don't sign after that, you can only sign a 1-year deal for $10 million at most. Look, they have the qualifying offer deadline. You want to move that up? You want to move that up? Or the qualifying offer? If you don't, I'll tell you this. If someone gets a qualifying offer and they don't sign by a certain time, the pick goes to a first-round pick instead of a second, third, or fourth. You want to push it up? So if you're interested in the guy with a qualifying offer, you do something like that.
Could be.
Just a thought.
I like the idea of, restricting these teams and saying, hey, it's a $10 million deal. Because if you're not valuing people's time, it's the old saying, you don't value their money. I mean, so you could do that where it's a $10 million type of thing. I just wanted to quickly share this screen. I wanted to get everybody's opinion. Ray, yours specifically, anybody in the comments. We basically have an official 2026 Hall of Fame ballot. It's, I think, Ray, I don't know on our side if it's showing it.
I'm seeing my X account.
Right, I was about to say. I'll add it to the state. Oh, I got to remove your thing. Excuse me, guys. There we go.
There we are.
Here we go. So here's the 2026, what you're looking at basically in terms of the ballot. For me, I'm a small hall guy. I kind of think there's a sacredness to it. I think all of that stuff. For me, Beltran definitely deserves to make the Hall of Fame. He'll go in as a Met. Absolutely. Felix Hernandez, King Felix, projecting very well.
I got to look at Andrew Jones's numbers, but I know he was great for a long time.
Those are my three. Beltran, Felix, and
Jones. Let me see anybody else.
There's a case
Look,
for
guys, I'll be honest with you. I know a lot of people are going to throw Manny Ramirez in there, but for me, I'm an originalist. Once you get busted, you are done. You lose that privilege, in my view, to get into the Hall of Fame. If you guys feel different, let me know in the comments. But once you get busted for PEDs, you're done. Because at the end of the day, you can't prove how long they were doing it. You don't know if they were using a masking agent. They forgot to take it. You don't know. I've heard it so many times. Like guys like, you want to know how certain players feel about PEDs that don't do them? Go check out what Mike Trout said a few years ago about PEDs. He said it's simple. You get caught once, you are banned for life.
Yeah. Congratulations,
Out
Mike.
there.
David Wright.
Oh, and
Daniel
David
Murphy.
Wright, of course. No.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I think there's cases for guys, Ryan Braun, PEDs, unfortunately, crosses him off. Sin-Soo Choo's not a Hall of Famer. And
Andy Pettit did the juice. I don't care. It was for your elbow. You did it.
Mark Burley has an interesting case. Cole Hamels has an interesting case. I don't think these players are going to get in. Torrey Hunter has an interesting case. Mark Hakis, there's a player. Again, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but interesting case. Dustin Pedroia kind of follows in that David Wright, where he got hurt kind of early in his career. He was a hell of a player, as we all know. Hunter Pence is not a Hall of Famer. Andy Pettit, he could very well be a Hall of Famer, even though he was connected to some of those steroids. The projections on Andy Pettit, he might end up, getting the threshold of 75%. Beltran seems to be projecting. Felix Hernandez seems to be projecting. Manny Ramirez, he has a high vote total. Same thing with Alex Rodriguez, but I don't know if they'll ever cross the 75%. Rick Porcello is not a Hall of Famer.
If you sue MLB and you're the first guy to get a lifetime ban, Alex should never get in. That's just me.
Yeah, I hear you 100%.
Rodriguez is an interesting case. He was a great closer for a while.
Yeah, he was. He was the first closer. I mean, I ever remember in a Mets uniform, man. So
I was a Billy Wagner guy.
Oh,
I wonder where his stats are outside of punching his father-in-law in the mouth, which he's known for. But
and we don't.
Anybody remember that in the Mets clubhouse? Anybody?
We don't count any of the Phillies, of course. Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, they're not.
Stinks.
Omar Vizquel has a case. Long-time player. I mean, he just had
known for his glove.
He had some of that off the field
stuff. I don't know if your glove ever gets you in though.
The little kids and whatnot. And then David Wright. I think there is a case for David Wright someday on a veterans committee. I don't think it's the case for him. Same thing with Dustin Pedroia. They'll get into the Hall of Fame, but it'll be in 2055 or 2060 or something like that. So we'll see, man. We'll see. It'll be a long time coming. Congratulations, Daniel Murphy. Congratulations, David Wright.
Klubeck's a good question. If Beltran gets voted in, would you guys go to Cooperstown to see him inducted?
Yeah, I would.
I would, and we would do a Metcast live that day.
I will be there. That'll definitely be worth it.
You'll get paid to be there. I won't. That's the difference.
Right. He could go in as a Royal.
You guys will see me holding on to Dan's cars. We're driving up to Cooperstown.
No.
Like the old train ride.
Yeah. I think there is a case for the Royals. Some of the numbers, if you look at them comparatively to the Mets, they're actually pretty close. He has more of the accolades with the Mets, which is going to push him over, but he does have a Rookie of the Year with the Royals. So they kind of
too. He was almost a Met.
Yeah, no, there's some interesting names on here. Bobby Abreu always comes to mind, but he always clashed with the media.
Did he do juice?
There was rumors of it.
Didn't he have like a crazy? Now you got me.
Well, of course, and we remember Alex Gordon, Game 1 of the World Series.
He played for forever, Bobby Abreu.
25th, but I'm a small hall guy. So Beltran, Hernandez, and Jones. I don't know what your ballot would be.
Isn't it wild? You think Bobby Abreu? He played forever, Dan. How many home runs do you think this guy had?
4 something, 5 something, 4.
288.
He really didn't hit a lot at all. Wow, I thought he had more.
This is how. Look, hold on, I'm going through it right now. Let's see. He played for a long time, but he had I thought his stats would be way better. Way better. His career high in home runs was 31. I thought he had like 51 year. His best year ever. Wow. His best year ever. 31, 110, 48 doubles. That's like an average Pete Alonso year. Here's his thing. Check out these batting average. Talk about a throwback. I love doing this, guys. I am like Dan. I love the throwbacks. Check out these batting averages. 312, 335, 316, 289, 308, 300, 301, 286, 297, 330, 283, 296, 293. My gosh. How many years did he have an OPS ready for this? This is why he's a Hall of Famer, Dan. Listen to these OPSs. 906, 995, 970, 936, 934, 877, 971, 879, 886, 861, 926, 814, 843, 825. I mean, the guy had almost a 900 OPS for a decade. He's a Hall of Famer in my book. That's just me. A career OPS plus of 128, 870 career OPS. And let's not forget, the last 4 years, he was terrible. He had a career 900 OPS right around there.
He hit a career average of 291, again, over 18 years. That's,
very impressive.
Something to be said about that. He was even good towards the end of his career.
Isn't that crazy when you look at that? We're like, oh, he's not a Hall of Famer when you think about that. But it's like, how many guys now hit 300? Like back when David Wright was around and Jimmy, they all hit 300. Jose Reyes winning batting titles. David Wright hit what, 330 1 year?
Right. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It's interesting. It's always one of those conversations I love to have when it comes to the ballot. It only happens, basically once a year. You get to have these conversations, but we'll continue to have them if names change or ideas change. It's the beauty of the ballot. As the years kind of blend into each other, you get different conversations, different viewpoints. But again, I think, Beltran should be a Hall of Famer this year. Felix Hernandez has an outside shot, and Andrew Jones deserves to be in. This guy was clean. He has the highest WAR of a center fielder of all time. He was a great defender, and he was a great player. So I think Andrew Jones should be.
Dan, think about this. In 2025, 7 players hit 300.
It's bad. We don't value it anymore. And that's why guys like Luis Arraez.
Killing the game, though. You want action. You got to get guys on base.
I know. And
let's see, what was Wright's best year? 2006?
Yeah, I believe. He had a great 2012 too. I want to just might have been his best year, if I'm being honest.
You would think it'd be different. It says in 2006, 8 hitters hit 300 or better.
That's not.
That can't be right?
Now David really Wright, is
turning into
age 23 season. He hits 311. His age 24 season in 2007, Wright hits 325.
All right, I lied. I'm on page 2. We're already into the 30s. How many people hit 300? All right, here we go. You had 38 players hit 300 or better in 2006. 30. And I'm looking at it. It's not like you look at Judge at 335. Okay, the next best guy is 311. You had 1, 2, 3. You had 4 guys hit 340 or better. You had 7 guys hit 330 or better. You have 7 total hitting 300 this year. It's incredible.
Well, even guys like even a little bit further back, Wade Boggs, he had an 18-year career. He only hit under 300. He had 15 years. He only didn't hit under 300 3 times. I mean,
by the way, Dan, we keep hearing about people talk about Aaron Judge, the best right-handed hitter of all time. You ever see Albert Pujols' stats in 2006? I'm right here. His name was right here. 2006. 331, 49 homers, 137 RBIs, 92 walks while striking out 50 times.
It's ridiculous.
32 man. Doubles. Like that is 1102 OPS.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And that's why he kicked our ass in the playoffs.
It's ridiculous. It's just a different level of baseball. Starting pitchers don't go deep into games. It's a big problem. The starting pitcher is becoming devalued. Really is. There's a lot of things. The closer, in a way, is becoming devalued. It's It's unfortunate, man. It really is. Power hitters like Pete Alonso. Every team had a power hitter, and every team bat him fourth. Nowadays, it's like, oh, I could do away with it. I can do it contact wise. I don't need a power hitter. Sometimes my best hitter hits 2 or 3, or it's just insane, man. So we'll see.
Dan, really quick, Andrew Jones, best
Yes.
year, 51 homers, 128 RBIs. He actually had, he was trying to hold on, 434 career homers. How many Gold Gloves did he win? Do we know?
Many. 10.
Right? Gold. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in a row. He won. He's got to be
Yep.
10 Gold Gloves in a row while hitting almost 500 homers. I know
He is
we're boring like the younger crowd. I get it, but it's just
No,
it's awesome to see this.
Andrew Jones is a Hall of Famer. He is. He should be. He should have his day in Cooperstown, and I hope he does because he's deserving. And he's waited way too long, and he's clean, and that's what matters. So, guys, we appreciate it, man. We
Yeah.
13
Like, subscribe, consider becoming a member to be guaranteed to get your comments read live on air. And obviously, you know, I'm off from work next week, home with the baby. If anything drops, you know where to be first. We'll be covering it, having guests in the future. Thanks so much for sticking around, guys. Dan,
we'll see
as always,
any news. Yeah, let's go Mets,
let's
guys.
go Mets.
Woo!
God bless everyone. Peace.